Hello and welcome to another episode of Temporary Australians. I'm Jonesy.
And I'm Hirsty.
And this is Mike. This is what we've got coming up on the show today.
On Temporary Australians, we visit the Bathurst Street and Custom Motorcycle Show. Jonesy asks about single-seat registration. We find out what it's like to ride around the world. Rob Colligan shares his favourite rides. We look closely at the winning bikes at the Bathurst Bike Show. Brent Stafford takes us on a rare look to the inner sanctum of the Harley Heaven workshop. Vic from Brotherhood CMC talks about surviving childhood tragedy. Rick Thomas tells us why he likes to ride in WA and Tassie. And we check out the Norton Owners Club Classic Bike Show at Phillip Island. Well, here we are at the Bathurst Street and Custom Motorcycle Show. It's been pelting down rain all week, but you can see today's turned out really good and the turnout is just fantastic. Lots of locals have come to have a look and there's some great bikes, so let's check it out. Now the reason for this bike show is because there are many of us who remember the days of the bike racing up here and we long to see a track come back. So in the meantime, while we're hoping that something like that will happen, we wanted to keep motorcycling prominent and Bathurst prominent in the motorcycling community. And this event does it. It gets a lot of coverage through the motorcycle scene. And as you can see, it attracts right across a great cross-section of motorcycles and people.
I'd like to say welcome to everybody and thank you for coming to Bathurst for the second Bathurst Street and Custom Motorcycle Show. It's fantastic to see that we have 66 bikes out here on display, and what a fabulous display it is. Congratulations to everybody who has entered and everybody who takes home trophies a bit later on this afternoon. Yes, we do long to see motorcycling return to Bathurst, and Bathurst Regional Council is always willing and has been working with groups to try and bring motorcycling back to Bathurst. There are always developments that are happening, but we'll continue to work towards gaining a facility up here in Bathurst for the motorcycle again into the future.
Some of the local Bathurst and Orange bike shops came along for the day.
Beard Brothers, both of us were born and raised in Bathurst. We've had the business for a bit over 5 years now. Grown up riding bikes, racing bikes, and love it. Always been on them.
How does motorcycling fit in this region? I mean, we know a lot about the off-road stuff, but the road bike side of things, how big is it out here?
Well, I think it's getting bigger every year. Yeah, I think it is. Our inquiries, each year we've had more inquiries and more sales, so we're getting better each year. CJ Burns, Chairman of the Motorcycle Council of New South Wales, had some good news on green slip prices.
We're the group who've worked over the past 3 years to get you guys a win on green slips. There's a 17% decrease in green slips effective from 1 January. Okay, so keep an eye on your green slip prices for your motorbikes.
Some of the local bikers brought along their pride and joy.
My little Harley called Buttercup, obviously for the after the colour. She's a lovely little 1200 sporty, and we're in the middle of customising her to just to make a nice comfortable ride to cruise around and on the fantastic roads in Bathurst.
This is a fairly rare bike. It's a 1976 GL 1000. This is basically the way I bought it. It's original condition. All I've done to it is put new seals and the stuff that deteriorates over the years. Yeah.
Vic from Brotherhood talked about being looked after by the biker upstairs.
Hitting the open road and enjoying the scenery, but you're never quite sure whether you're going to go down or not, coming around a corner or hitting a slick patch. But in my experience, in the background, I've always got that calm assurance that there's someone looking out for me. And so if I do go down, I'm still being looked after.
The competition was fierce with 30 trophies on offer, but the surprise was the winner of Best Bike and People's Choice. Chris, congratulations. You won People's Choice and Best Biker Show with 2 different bikes. And I have to say, I've never been to a show where one person has won both those categories.
Yeah, it's a bit of a buzz. Wasn't expecting it. Thought I might win at least one.
Well, you'd be pleased to know that the People's Choice is voted on by the people who came to the show, which is mostly local residents, I guess. Yep. And the Best Biker Show was from Bikers Australia, so none of them knew that this was going to turn out. So congratulations.
Thank you very much. Yeah, real good.
The locals, it's always great to have a new vibe coming into town as well. So to have all those bikes coming into town, and some beautiful bikes that come into town as well, all sorts. So whether they be the older ones, the newer ones, you know, it's a great show.
But why is it so complicated, Brian? I don't seem to understand that. Surely if Queensland can have single-seat registration, why can't New South Wales have that?
I guess there's no impediment to having single seat in New South Wales, but because the scheme is really managed by the MAA, but the actual insurance policies are written by insurance companies, then it involves the insurance companies themselves. So for them to make changes, they need to be sure that, you know, well, I guess confident that they're setting the premiums at the right sort of rate. So they don't want to be chopping and changing the system, you know, just sort of every 12 months. They want to be able to, because any insurance premium is based on a history of claims, so they want to be able to have a history of, you know, be confident that if they do set a single seat registration, that it is a fair premium.
The insurance companies as well have used some rubbery figures for motorcycle accident, like if someone, I heard this, if someone drops a motorcycle in a garage, that's classed as a motorcycle accident, which isn't true at all.
Well, the MAA is only interested in claims where there is personal injury, so a bike being dropped in a garage wouldn't be of interest on the CTP scheme.
But the insurance companies are using that data from their own, because they provide their own data.
Yes, I guess the other thing is that there is no real competition in the industry. When you look at those premiums, a lot of the companies are obviously not interested because the scheme is set up that they must offer a premium in every classification. So if they're not interested in bike insurance, they just bung it up as high as they possibly can.
So obviously, because a green slip doesn't cover the rider of the bike, it covers a peon. I don't carry a peon passenger. Is there a way in some shape or form where you can have a peon-only green slip? Is that a possibility?
Well, I guess it comes back to that the insurance is linked to the bike itself. So something like single-seat registration would be feasible, and it's currently in use in Queensland. But because it is linked to the bike itself, it would be difficult to say, well, link it to the... There have been suggestions some schemes should be linked to the rider rather than to the machine itself. That way would allow you then to own multiple bikes and still the premium is with the rider. So but the scheme as it's set up is linked to the registration of the bike.
So you'd have your own personal green slip?
You could. Some schemes are like that, I believe. I'm not aware of any currently. There's certainly none in Australia like that.
Because it makes too much sense, Brian. That's why.
Probably, yes.
I've got my own personal pink slip, but that's about what I do on the weekend.
Hey George, you're from France originally.
Yes.
Did you ride out to Australia?
I rode, yes, I did, actually on a water bottle, the Suzuki 750.
Oh, they're a big beast, aren't they?
Yes. I had to carry a lot of two-stroke oil with me.
So how did you get here? Through Asia or through Africa?
Through Asia. Yeah, so I went through Turkey, Iran, Afghanistan, Pakistan and India.
And you've done a fair bit of travelling other than just coming to Australia?
I've done, yes. I've been all around Australia, of course, and I did two trips in Latin America.
So what's made you settle in Melbourne?
At the time it was very easy to find a job when I came to Australia. It was a base for my trips.
What are some of your favourite motorcycle rides in Victoria?
In Victoria, would be a part of the Great Ocean Roads, but not on weekends because there's too many people. During the weeks, okay. You got the Dandenongs and the Spur, and those are the best road. And here, just for leisure, the Boulevard, which is quite pleasurable.
Yeah, it's a terrific road.
It is very terrific and so close to the city. You don't have to go very far and just enjoy yourself as if you were in the bush. And I enjoy it. I don't have a car. I didn't have a car since 1973, so it's everyday motorcycle.
Rain, hail or shine?
No matter what, yes.
Now, Motorcycling New South Wales is the parent body of your alliance, and through all of that, it's started to develop motorcycle rallies, try to develop that part of the culture.
Yeah, look, part of my brief was to create a community of bikers, and you're aware of what things used to be like. We used to have rallies just about every weekend of the year. Much has changed, and the demographic of people riding has changed, and now there's a desperate need for someone to go out there and try and start up a lot of rallies again, and that's part of my brief.
What's your favourite ride in New South Wales?
Oh, look, I must be honest, I live down the far south coast of New South Wales, so I'm a little bit biased. I'm at the foot of the Snowies, near Tathra. I have the Burmese Tathra ride, I have Mount Darra, I have Brown Mountain, but of all those, I'd have to say the Bonang is my favourite.
I presume there's lots of corners and lots of hills?
There's a sign, it's about 164 k's from Bombala down to the Orbost, and there's a sign about 60 k's into it that says, next 105 k's twisties, and that is the start of where it gets fun for mine.
No wonder you live there in that part of the world.
Yeah, it's pretty special, and a lot of the rallies that we run will be down that part of the world, in the snowy mountains, in the Alps, or at the foot of the Alps where the twisties are.
Chris, congratulations. You won People's Choice and Best Biker Show with 2 different bikes. And I have to say, I've never been to a show where one person has won both those categories.
Yeah, it's a bit of a buzz. Wasn't expecting it. It was given to Dad about 30 years ago, and it wasn't complete. There's a lot of stuff missing off it. And I said to Dad back in '99, said, what are we going to do with it? And Dad said, I'll sell it. And I said, well, stuff it, I'll do it up. So yeah, I restored it. It took me 3 years to restore it. A lot of swap meets to get the parts that are missing. And I'm a very determined person. Once I start a project, I'll keep going until it's finished. And having said that, you spend a lot of money and you think, where's all this money going? Until you start putting it together, then you start to appreciate what all the work you put into it.
You take it on many rides?
I don't now. I did. When I finished restoring it, I rallied it for about 2 years back in 2002, and it was winning everything, and a lot of King of the Rally. When I was a member of the Australian Aerial Register, they had their national rally in Queanbeyan, and it was voted best finished aerial, and it was also voted the best aerial in Australia.
Let's talk about the Ducati. Now, how long have you had it?
I bought that, it was a demo bike, and I bought that in '97. So being a demo bike, I got it a bit cheaper, and I did a lot of work to it too. I stripped it, painted the frame, put the belly pan on, all the carbon fibre. Every polished part on this was originally painted silver, so I stripped all that off and buffed it all up. And yeah, it's quite a nice bike.
So this is the one you ride, I guess?
Yeah, I ride this one around when I'm not renovating the house.
Well, what's the attraction of a sports bike out the side? It's more cruiser territory, isn't it?
Well, the older you get, you think it should be better on a cruiser. But it is a nice bike to ride. And the thing I find too, it sounds nice with the carbon fibre mufflers, but once it gets hot, it just gurgles. It's just unreal, especially when you back it off.
Mate, this is an immense showroom. Is the reason you moved out of Elizabeth Street to a Beckett Street so you could have more bikes on show?
That was the secondary motivation. The first motivation was to find a workshop. We've got around about 40 technicians in this building, as well as engineering department. Here we've got the dyno, it's built in. You can see it's actually running now. The guys are up there, it's all soundproof. We have got 2 areas for service reception, and I'll walk you through the workshop. You can have a look. Okay, along here we've got our major groups, and this is Harley servicing. We keep those technicians together. Every technician has his work bay, plus he's got a storage area. What we have done as well is we've got full automated lubricant and fluid supply. We're fully supported with spare parts staff, which all their function is just to make sure that all the parts are here for the techs. All the techs are factory trained. I think there's 10 of the top level Harley Davidson technicians in Australia, and we've got 4 of them in this workshop, which is great. This is the engineering side of it. We employ 3 technicians / engineers. They do all the performance work, head work repair, special machining, re-welding. So have you got anything you can show us today, Andrew?
Well, I've got It's exciting. These are some jobs that are underway right now. There's a CVO that we've welded the chamber of. We do modifications, that's not finished yet. And this one here is nearly on the verge of being finished. It's just a standard casting Harley cylinder head that we just port and what have you and use them for 103 kits and 96 cubic inch kits, big kits that we do. Out here in the machine shop we've got pretty much everything that we need to do the work that we get in our retail outlet, plus we do it commercially for other people. And we do it in-house because we have got control over the quality of the work that we do.
The technical ability of our technicians, it's just ongoing. So please, if you're in Melbourne, come down and call on us, have a look. We really appreciate you calling in.
You grew up in a family that was associated with part of the wilder part of the bike scene in Canada. Can you describe to us what that was like?
Well, probably uncertain would be the best sort of word for it. You could never really know what was going to happen from day to day. You know, you'd wake up in your morning and be eating a bowl of cereal, and then all of a sudden the police are at the door, knocking, want to ask questions. You know, things like that. So it was other ways normal. You know, we'd go for picnics with all the guys and their families and everything was great. But yet there was always behind the scenes other things going on that you only talked about in hush whispers. So that's probably the best way I could sort of describe it. Difficult, but a childhood.
That blew up, unfortunately, when you were very young and there was trouble at home.
Yes, there certainly was trouble at home. As I was saying, that sort of the normal childhood bit. One morning I woke up, like I do on every other morning, to step outside of my bedroom into the living room to find a police officer there who turned to me very quickly and said, "Son, you need to put some shoes on." And not knowing why, I looked down and there was glass all over the floor. Now, as the time went on, I learned and discovered that my mother's boyfriend had shot someone dead in our living room just the night before, and I slept through the whole thing, thank goodness. But he had, yes, as I say, went to jail for that for a couple of years. But unfortunately for my brother and my favorite dog, Buddy, a week later, the family of the gentleman who was slain decided to torch our house in retaliation. And so my brother and my dog died in the midst of that. So this is what I'm talking about, that sort of uncertainty. You could never know what was going to happen each day. And
well, you became a Christian along the way too. How did that come about?
Well, as you could probably guess, the childhood not being a particularly good one, a mother not working and being on welfare, selling drugs on the side, we didn't have an awful lot of money in our pockets. And so to get us out of the house on Sunday mornings, my mum would send us to Sunday school. And so I got an experience of a lot of different churches, a lot of different Sunday schools, but in the midst of all that, a lot of really lovely and gracious people which adopted me, in a sense. You know, they looked after me, they encouraged me, challenged me as well, but also supported our family as much as they possibly could. And so in the midst of all that, while there's all this sort of chaos going on in the background, the love of God just sort of kept streaming through like a light breaking through the clouds. And finally, when I got old enough to make decisions for myself, it just seemed right. You know, that's the best way I can explain it. That God was sort of making himself available, and so I responded.
Have you found that relationship with God has helped you in your life, particularly dealing with the trauma of your childhood?
All the different trials and challenges that I've sort of faced in life, there's that, I wouldn't say confidence, but at least that assurance of knowing that I'm being cared for. And he has certainly proved to be there time and time and time again.
The Great Ocean Road, which is, you know, if you're a keen motorcyclist, that's a must-do on your list of things to do. It's a great ride.
I noticed that winds its way down the coast. Just about how much of it? I know it goes for hundreds and hundreds of kilometres, but just how much of it is on the coast, you reckon?
The majority of it's on the coastline. Yeah, you can spend your whole day pretty much riding along there and stopping and just for a breather here and there and enjoying the ocean and the windy road and the mountains and bush one side and the sea the other. It's a quite unique experience, and literally you are really on the cliff edge for some of that road. So it's a very popular road. I've got two favourites, and unfortunately they're both a bit of a way away, but Tassie, one of the things I love, it's really hard to ride anywhere in Tassie without having that great view of mountains and lakes, and you're almost always looking at great scenery. Again, good roads and not a lot of population, which is a good combination for riding. But I think for me the most memorable I've done has been the bottom of Western Australia. I was fortunate with another manufacturer to have a dealer in Albany, right down the bottom of Western Australia, and got the opportunity to ride from Albany right up through what they call Walpole and the Valley of the Giants up to Bunbury. And after all that riding, Greg, when I got to the other end, all I wanted to do was turn around and head back. So in my life, actually, that's been one of the most enjoyable rides I've ever had. The scenery is sensational, the roads are great. Again, not a lot of traffic, which makes for a great combination.
And not a lot of funny people dressed in blue and...
I did run across a couple, but they were more accommodating, if I can put it that way.
Well, Phillip Island is very motorcycle friendly. The economy has a great boost from motorcyclists this weekend. The public generally are very happy to see the bikes arrive, and you'll see school children out lining the side of the road, waving them in. The Barasheen ride arrives on Thursday, and they'd have 1,000 bikes in that, and the roads are just lined with people welcoming them on. It's terrific, and because it's such a well-trodden path, it's been down here for over a decade now. The organisers know how to manage the traffic and how to run it, and people know what to expect. But this event that we're organising here today has filled, a bit of a hole in the market where we felt that there needed to be some more motorcycling activities in Cowes for people who aren't at the track today. So they can just participate and look at the bikes and watch the trials and so on, just to add to the carnival sort of atmosphere of the whole weekend.
There's a lot of people who come down and I suppose find themselves at a loose end, so we thought it was a good opportunity to get some interesting bikes together and make it turn into a charity fundraiser.
Yeah.
For some groups.
We just saw the potential there for involving people in motorcycling in Cowes on a very special weekend, MotoGP weekend, and also being able to do something good for the community, raising some funds for charity. And that's what we have been doing for the last couple of years.
It appears to me to be very popular. There's a lot of people who have been coming through and having a look at all the bikes.
Yeah, well, motorcycling appeals to a wide range of people for a number of different reasons. Some are interested in racing, some are interested in classic bikes, others in trials. Motorcycling has many different facets, and not everyone is interested in all of them, but most of them have a slight interest at least in some of them, and very passionate about certain areas of it.
Are they all of these bikes from the region, or people travel down to Melbourne for these?
Most of the bikes are from the region. There's an amazing sort of depth of ownership, if you like, around the Phillip Island area, and it's incredible, really, when you start talking to people, how many bikes they have, and they know someone who's got one. So we're able to draw on that resource, and people have bought them here today. But there are a lot of clubs in Melbourne, and because Melbourne's only an hour and 40 minutes away, a lot of them have joined the Grand Prix rally and have ridden down. Others have put them on a trailer and brought them down.
I suppose one of the concepts was a lot of these bikes actually don't see the light of day too often, so it was the opportunity for people to get them out and tease them out. Right. And I think it stimulates interest in the community. People who might have been interested in motorbikes come down and they all of a sudden realise that there's quite a culture and a live culture that's very positive and doing something and putting something back into some of these groups like the Royal Flying Doctor Service who rely on funds from the community.
We're happy to be able to contribute back to the community and support the Flying Doctor Service in this instance, who have a terrific synergy with motorcycling, because motorcyclists find themselves in all sorts of faraway places where there are no services and ambulances and so on.
And unfortunately requiring a service.
Requiring a service. So I think motorcyclists really appreciate what the Flying Doctor Service do. So we feel a great synergy with them, and we're very happy to be able to support them.
Okay, well, that was a great show, Jonesy.
Excellent show. Some of your best work, Greg.
Thank you, Jonesy. I thought you were great too.
I'm off to get a frappe. Take it easy, shiny side up. We'll see you next week.
See ya.